Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Chill Bill. Bill is a veteran of the World Water Wars, where he commanded an army of Metanephros. Now he's retired, but he still likes to look for trouble and play around with his water bazooka. In my opinion, Chill Bill has one of the most incredible designs in the whole entire game. Just look at him, he's a freaking penguin with a bazooka, a veteran of the World Water Wars. He is absolutely amazing. And just as the description and the monster design implies, Chill Bill is a water attacker. So currently in the game, there are 18 water legendary monsters, and water monsters, most of them tend to be deny monsters. It's very rare when we have a really good water attacker. Chill Bill fits that bill. That was not on purpose. Anyways, he has a power of 3,509. This is the third highest power stat for all water monsters, but this actually puts him in 4th place. Currently, Hydroke and Anton have a power of 3,531, so they're tied for 2nd, and then there's Thetis' pet, which reigns supreme with a power of 3,575. Nonetheless, 3,509, Chill Bill, that is a really good power. His life, however, is 26,540, and this actually makes him tied for 13th place, along with monsters like General Thetis and Lord of Atlantis. So considering there's 18 water legendary monsters and he's tied with 2 of them, that's really not a good life to have for a water monster. And a similar thing can be said for his speed, 3,388. Once again, this makes him tied for 13th place, along with Lord of Atlantis. So although Chill Bill's power is rather impressive, his life and speed, I can't say the same about them. Fortunately for Chill Bill, his trait is immune to freeze, so that kind of compensates for his low speed. So even though Chill Bill is slow, if you were ever to use this monster in Team Wars, the enemy would most likely have a water monster with all speed runes that has an AoE free skill, and even if it was to do its AoE free skill, you can't be frozen, so that's a really good trait to have for a water monster. Anyways, let's talk about skills. We have Bill Strike, Bill Balloons, nothing too special about default skills. As for his special skill, Win World Water War. Deals massive special damage, may freeze target. So this skill targets a single enemy dealing 70 damage, and it also freezes the enemy monster. I wish I could say I really like this special, but I honestly don't. If this was an AoE skill, it would have instantly been an amazing special. The fact that it only targets one enemy, that kind of sucks. However, this ultimate attack is special based, so in a Team Wars it really will come in handy, especially against another water monster. And with 70 special based damage, given this monster's power, given the fact that he's going to have at least 2 strength runes, that's going to be enough to one hit most enemies. And as an added little bonus, if you fail to eliminate the monster you attack, you will also freeze them. And before I move on, one interesting thing, this skill is 70 damage. Later on you're going to see he has a skill that's 75 damage and water based. So I don't know, I just wish this attack could have done more. I guess I'm really just not impressed with his ultimate. Anyways, let's move down to skills group 1. We have Water Shotgun, Wet Bombing, Dirty Water War. Out of all these skills, none of them are even worth talking about, so let's move over to skills group 2. So let me start off by saying with Chill Bill, there isn't one perfect skill set you have to use with this monster. You could pretty much pick any combination of the following 6 skills and you'd have yourself a pretty good monster. So at the end of the day, just pick the skill set that works best for you. Starting things off with Penguin Honor, deals heavy water damage, may freeze target. This skill targets a single enemy, dealing 55 damage, it costs 31 stamina, it has no cooldown, and it freezes. This is awesome, a 0 cooldown freeze skill. As you know, freeze is spammable. Unlike stun, where if you stun a monster, they become immune to stun for 1 turn, you don't have that problem with freeze. You can freeze back to back to back to back. You can freeze non-stop if you had the stamina for it. So for that reason, Penguin Honor is a good skill. Now just keep in mind that if you use this monster in Team Wars, the water monster you face off against most likely is going to be immune to freeze. So having this skill, it might not help you out too much against that monster. Nonetheless, it will help you out against the other elements, because so far there's not that many monsters and different elements that are immune to freeze. Right now we have Reptile from the magic category, we have Hercule from the metal category, and then from earth category we have Oros and Goron. So in a Team War, chances are there's still going to be a monster you can freeze. Next up is Water Bombing. Deals moderate water damage to all enemies, requires cooldown. This is a water based AoE that deals 45 damage, costs 36 stamina, and it has a 3 turn cooldown. And there's not much to say about Water Bombing, it's a pretty straightforward skill. If you wanted to use Chill Bill for adventure maps or for clearing dungeons, this is the kind of skill that comes in handy. 45 damage, you pair him up with a monster that can give him 2 times damage, and then you could easily wipe out the enemy team. And a strong attack like this can also come in handy Team Wars. It would have been a lot better if it dealt special based damage as opposed to water based damage, because again, you're going to face off against a water monster, and water attacks on water monsters, that doesn't do so well. So depending on the purpose you're going to use Chill Bill for, and depending on how you like to play, Water Bombing may or may not be for you. Next we have Collateral Water. Deals very heavy special damage, 50% chance of freezing all targets, requires cooldown. This skill deals 65 damage to a single enemy, it only costs 29 stamina, has a 3 turn cooldown, there's a 50% chance to freeze all enemy monsters, and in my personal opinion, this is my favorite skill of Chill Bill's. Of all of the skills from skills group 2 and 3, if I had to call one skill a must-have skill, it would be Collateral Water. The one thing this skill has that the other skills don't have is that it deals a high amount of damage damage and its special base, 65 damage special base. Keep in mind his ultimate was only 70 damage, and whereas his ultimate attack freezes the monster you attack, Collateral Water has a 50% chance to freeze all targets. Now this really comes in handy in Team War specifically. So let's take a situation where it's some rarity, water, and some other elements. Water is going to be the deny monster and the other element is going to be the attacker, then the rarity is just whatever rarity it is. Normally the way you would approach that war is that you would bring your best water monster with all speedruns, you try to immobilize the enemy, and then you'd use your attacker to finish off the enemy. But let's take a situation where your opponent has better speedruns than you. So even if you brought your best water monster with your best speedruns, your opponent was still going to go first. And in that scenario, that is a perfect example where Chill Bill can shine. The enemy water immobilizer is going to go first, it's going to do AoE freeze scale, but thankfully Chill Bill is immune to freeze, so you're not going to be affected by that and you're still going to get a turn in. And then when it's Chill Bill's turn, he can use Collateral Water on the enemy water monster. Thankfully you have a special based attack, thankfully you deal 65 damage. Most likely you're going to one hit that water monster and there's still that 50% chance to immobilize the other two monsters, the rarity and the other element. Since the enemy monster's other element is the attacker, if you do manage to freeze that enemy monster, that is really going to come in handy. Collateral Water in my opinion is just such an amazing skill. Now of course do keep in mind that you have to be careful when using Chill Bill because there's plenty of water monsters that don't solely rely on an AoE freeze skill. Cabin Fish has AoE stun, General Thebes has stamina drain, so just be careful about that. Anyways, down to skills group 3 we have Water Warriors. Deals heavy water damage, gains double damage, requires cooldown. This skill deals 55 damage to a single enemy, it costs 31 stamina, it has a 2-turn cooldown, and you get double damage. Water Warriors is the perfect skill to use in order to set up for your AoE 45 water based attack. And in a team war situation, quite possibly if you were to do Water Warriors on the enemy water monster and then follow it up with an AoE 45 damage water attack that's going to have double damage, you might be able to finish off the whole team. I'm not entirely too sure because again it's the whole fact that you're doing a water based attack on a water monster, but I don't know, quite possibly when you factor in the fact that you're going to have at least 2 strength runes, when you're going to have double damage, when you're going to deal an initial 55 damage against a water monster, I'm pretty sure it would die. And not to mention Water Warriors can also be used just to take out a really tanky monster. Specifically in Team Wars, you'd be able to use Water Warriors on the enemy's rarity. If it's a common, uncommon, or rare, you're pretty much going to finish off that monster in one hit, and then the double damage boost can help you set up for something like Collateral Water and finish off the enemy attacker or the enemy water monster. And next up is a skill I was talking about at the beginning of the video, Water Cataclysm. Deals massive water damage, requires cooldown, 75 damage, 28 stamina, 1-turn cooldown. Wow. Now of course they had to make this skill water based, otherwise it would be way too powerful. And although you may have trouble finishing off the enemy water monster using Water Cataclysm, you'll definitely have no trouble finishing off any other monster using this skill. Absolutely amazing. And last but not least is Aqua Bombing. Deals moderate special damage to all enemies, applies stamina leak to all targets, requires cooldown. It's an AoE skill that deals 35 damage, it costs 37 stamina with a 3-turn cooldown, it gives all the enemy monsters stamina leak. Stamina leak, as you know, reduces the enemy's stamina by 15% for the following 3 turns. On your typical legendary monster that only has 140 stamina, that's 20 stamina points or a total of 60 stamina points over the course of those 3 turns. Now I really like this skill, and in fact I think I like it a little more than his 45 water based AoE just because this is a special based AoE. Yeah, it only deals 35 damage, which is 10 points less than his other AoE skill, but our upside is you get stamina leak, which you never know, it may help you out. Maybe the enemy was 1 hit from winning, but you just drained that last stamina from them and they had to recharge, and then you could win the game. And of course the fact that this is a water monster in Team Wars, it's nice to have a special based AoE as opposed to a water based AoE. So now I'm going to discuss 2 potential skill sets for this monster, and then if you guys have any other skill set, just let me know in the comments below. Like I said, there's plenty of different skill sets that can work on this monster. The first skill set you can do, and you can pretty much do this skill set with any attacker that has 2 AoE skills, is just use both of them. So you can run Water Bombing, Aqua Bombing, and then any 2 skills you choose from. And the whole point of using 2 AoE skills is pretty much if you were to use those skills back to back, that should be strong enough to wipe out the enemy team. But just in case it's not enough, it's always helpful to have some useful skills, like Penguin Honor that can freeze, or Water Warriors that can give you double damage. So that's one skill set, Water Bombing, Penguin Honor, Water Warriors, Aqua Bombing. But really this skill set primarily involves Water Bombing and Aqua Bombing. So if you don't like Penguin Honor and Water Warriors, feel free to substitute either with Collateral Water or Water Cataclysm. And even though this is a doable skill set, I personally do not recommend it. I am not really a fan of monsters having 2 AoE skills. From my experience, you rarely will ever need 2 AoE skills. The next skill set is the skill set I would choose if I had Chill Bill, and that's Collateral Water, Penguin Honor, Water Cataclysm, and I'm still a little undecided on the 4th and final skill. As of right now, I'm leaning towards Aqua Bombing, and I'm even considering Water Warriors. I like Aqua Bombing because, like I said previously, you never know when that stamina leak might come in handy, and it's nice having an AoE skill. But then when I look at Water Warriors, the fact that it gives me double damage, that could help me out immensely. So right now I'm not 100% what the 4th and final skill should be, but it doesn't really matter too much because the main skills are Collateral Water because of that 65 special base damage, Penguin Honor for whenever I might have to do a back-to-back free skill, and Water Cataclysm just because of that nice 75 damage skill with a 1-turn cooldown. Regardless of what skill I decide on, Water Warriors or Aqua Bombing, I doubt I'll be using that skill too much in the game. And as for runes, because Chill Bill is an attacker, you want to use the usual 2 strength runes and 1 speed rune. And I say this in just about every analysis, runes really depend on what level you are and what kind of opponents you're facing in the game. If your opponents have low level runes, there's honestly no reason to use a speed rune on an attacker, because there's no way the enemy monsters are going to get 2 turns in or 3 turns in before you even get 1 turn in. The only time that becomes a problem is when your opponent is running really high level runes like 7, 8, 9, 10. If your opponent has 3 level 10 speed runes on their deny monster and your attacker has no speed runes at all, that deny monster is going to get 2 turns in before you even get 1 turn in, and that can become hazardous. So quite honestly, you're the only person that knows what are the best runes to equip on your monsters. But anyways, with all that being said, that is going to conclude my analysis on Chill Bill. Let me know what you guys think about this monster. I honestly love this monster to death. He is by far one of my favorite monsters. I can't wait to get him. But yeah, write down your thoughts about Chill Bill in the comments below. Also be sure to let me know what skill set would you use on this monster and what runes you would use on Chill Bill. I look forward to reading everyone's comments. With that being said, I hope everyone has a great amazing day or a great amazing night. Remember to dream big and pursue your passions. Digivolve.